Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and today I was actually going to make a video that we do every expansion, the worst cards so far, because it's always really fascinating. A lot of them end up getting buffed, which we could see happen in like a couple of weeks or maybe a month when we get that next balance patch. We'll talk about all that stuff at a future date, but I've seen a lot of chatter, a lot of anger surrounding this son of a bitch of a card right here in the Colossus, the StarCraft Mage card that basically every time you played a Protoss spell, you improve the damage on this thing, and it deals it twice. So it can kill you, it can clear boards because it does it in waves. It has been a very contentious card in Hearthstone pretty much since it was introduced last winter with that StarCraft mini set. Even Kibler talked about it a lot during his, frustration points, and he hasn't really returned full time to Hearthstone. As a result, part of it, I would say, is the Colossus. And yeah, I've just noticed a lot of chatter, whether it's on Reddit, whether it's in my comments, or even in my stream chat about this card. And is it just time? Everything else kind of got nuked. It's like the one thing that got left behind, although Discover Hunter and I don't know, whatever. Anyways, it was one of the things that got left behind that people are still really upset about. I want to go into it, why, I could definitely see the argument to just finally, getting rid of it out of the meta, even though I kind of get where Blizzard's coming from. We'll look through some numbers, but overall, let's talk about the Colossus. Is it time for a change for that card? And it's always just kind of fun discussion. And as always, if you enjoy the content on the channel, feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like, as it helps the channel out a lot. And I really mean that. Thank you guys. You're always showing so much freaking support. The reason I bring this up is I made this tweet yesterday where I said it's kind of refreshing to see the top decks in standard. I'm referring to the meta I'm playing at. I'm playing at top 200 legend, be mostly board based and not have an obscene level of mana cheat. Believe me, there's plenty of mana cheat, but to me, outside of Cycle Rogue, it's not obscene. It took a lot of nerfs, but at least to me, the game feels considerably better. And of course, there's a lot of people that are going to disagree with it. But for me, I was mainly referring to the decks like Hagatha Shaman, which does have mana cheat with Paired Sanctuary. But it actually needs the board to win outside of the Muradin weapon, which I appreciate. And then Logosh Warrior, still pretty prevalent, very board based. Again, doesn't have a ton of burst or insane mana cheat. Discover Hunter is very board based, but yeah, it can cheat a bunch of mana. It could certainly OTK, especially with Neri. And then, yeah, the reason I said the top decks, and then I got a lot of comments, I noticed right near the bottom, insert Protoss Mage. Board based, have you played against Protoss Mage? It always comes up, and I agree. It does not fall into the category at all of playing for the board, and it does cheat a bunch of mana with the Protoss stuff eventually. I totally get it, right? But to me, I don't face that deck a lot, but that doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter if I'm playing a top 200 legend, I don't face Protoss Mage a lot. I still do face it. We'll go over the stats. But you'll see that why this thing is so problematic is the play pattern. And despite the power level being at a level where Blizzard wouldn't want to nerf it, and it's dodged it time and time again, it just makes people really upset. And it's still pretty popular. And yeah, Reddit had this thread just the other day, rework this card. It was on the front page, 500 upvotes. But even again, it's 70 something percent. It's a very contentious card. Some people are it's a really slow OTK, right? You have to build up to it. At what point is an OTK deck okay? And it says half my games today ended with this card, and half of his losses wasn't even against Mage. Weird Diamond 5 matchmaking, I guess. I know today we have more powerful decks than Protoss S, but if devs nuked OTK Warrior with slightly above average win rate after a week, which honestly is pretty true, although that's way more egregious. It was so much faster, right? This is a lot slower, and you couldn't really, actually could rat. Anyways, regardless of that, while we still have this card for 6 months, it's actually been longer than that, believe it or not, Mage could arguably stack more Warrior armor than Warrior, and this card doesn't care about your board at all, even less than Warrior OTK cares about it. Well, I don't know about that, but you have multiple of them, right? It's not necessarily the first one that kills you, but it certainly clears that board, and then they bounce it or whatever. You're never developing again, and then you're gonna blow up. So there is a lot of, I like this, the Monkey Paw Girls. It goes to a 4/9. Battle Cry, die. The StarCraft set had some questionable design choices. Colossus is fine, but I would not mind if Sleet Skater was nuked from orbit. And that's kind of my agreement with a lot of this, because if you look at Wild, it's the same thing where they don't use Colossus, they use Hostage, but Sleet Skater is a big part of that. Also, Infinite Ice Blocks, also Solid Alibis, but you combine that. But yeah, that's ultimately, to me, what the deck comes down to, where the win condition, if it was really slow and they had to do the OTK, I feel like people could stomach it more. But when they're stacking a billion armor with Shield Sentry, they're freezing your board with Blizzard into Bob and punishing you for playing your minions and freezing and gaining armor. That's where I feel like the real frustration gets there for a lot of people, is not that you're getting OTK, but you can't play the game up until that. You're literally, it's very similar almost to the Hostage Mage and Wild, not infinite, but there's that inevitability and frustration. So the play pattern just sucks on the deck. Let's put it that way. These toxic style mage decks, which I typically enjoy in Wild because I am a toxic individual, but I've never ever said they're fine. Like whenever they've been like nerf Quest Mage, I'm like, yeah, you should probably do that. I'll play it, but you should probably nerf it. I just don't think they're particularly healthy in the game, especially when they're popular. And that's the biggest issue we have. And that's why the conversation comes up so freaking much, is the popularity of it. If we look at the stats for the deck itself, this is on HS Replay, at just looking at Diamond through Legend, right? You look at Protoss Mage, it's barely above 50%. It's not that good. Like, it's not that great a deck. As a result, it never really gets nerfed. And this is after all of those balance changes that we just saw. And it gets even worse the higher ranks you go. At Legend rank, it's not even in the positive. Protoss Mage is at 49.5%. And then where I was talking about the ranks where I play, and like I was saying, like you have the Shamans, you have the Hunters, Leech DK, Cycle Rogue. To me, look at where Protoss Mage is. It's at like 48.5%. It's not that great there because people are playing like all the best stuff, and all the best stuff typically beats that. Whereas people playing at, lower ranks, they're playing good stuff usually, but not try-harding as much because they're, trying to have fun in Hearthstone. What a concept, right? But if you look at popularity for the deck, and we look at Protoss Mage in particular, you see even at Legend, it's like 8%, and it's around like 7 to 8% in pretty much every rank bracket, meaning you're constantly facing it, right? You're facing it, I guess, on average, maybe 1 in 10 games, if it's at 8% popularity. But those experiences, that 1 in 10 games, or maybe it's 2 out of 5 for the day for you, it's such a negative experience that it leads to people complaining like this. Actually, the funny thing is at Legend, it's 3rd highest. That's pretty crazy. It does show that the meta has gotten a lot more varied since the latest patch, but it's the popularity of it. And regardless of the win rate, the play pattern of it, that drives people crazy, the popularity of it, despite it not being amazing, being enough to drive people crazy, it certainly to me reserves merit. That, yeah, that argument of the dummy, right? The dummy warrior getting nerfed, you can argue it's pretty similar, where they just stall, do nothing, gain armor, and then you blow up, and even the board you built just doesn't matter. And that's normal in Wild, where I play all the time. Super normal there, but that type of play pattern has been pretty hedged out of Hearthstone since Stormwind ran crazy, right? They typically avoid that. If a deck pops up like that, it gets hit. So again, to me, I see the merit. I see the complaints, and I understand that if you want the Colossus, that card over there nerfed, I understand it. Or the support like Sleet Skater, I understand it. Do I think Blizzard should? Honestly, I feel like at this point, if the deck isn't even super top tier and it's creating this much of a headache, and there's so many like cheap cards you can nerf around it, why not? Especially considering all of the sentiment nerfs we saw, right? The Galak Adepts, the Murloc quest, which to a lot of people was the same deal. It really frustrated them. They hated facing it, but it win rate wasn't amazing. It was just popularity issue that it kind of falls into that category. It's hard to argue against it when other things are doing that. So at the end of the day, should they change Protoss Mage? And to me, I could take it or leave it. I find the play pattern frustrating. Maybe it's the Wild player me. Maybe it's because I have more mage wins than any other class, although it doesn't feel like a traditional, well, actually it kind of does. It's a toxic stalled mage deck. It does feel like mage. Maybe that's why I'm more like okay with it to an extent, but I feel like don't cater to people like me, cater to everybody else. And it's been pretty loud and vocal for quite some time, including the Brian Kibblers gamers of the world that, we like to see, you know, just anything else besides Protoss Mage popping up in that 1 in 10, maybe 2 out of 5, or even you're running in a bad day, half of your games, right? You never know what you're going to queue into, and that can be a real souring experience. And despite the fact that like Shaman is like dominant right now, I don't see nearly as many complaints about that deck, which will probably inevitably get nerfed at some point, you know, the next patch or something. But I still see way more comments about Protoss Mage now than anything. So just thought I would talk about that. Let you guys vent to the comments down below if it's driving you crazy, or argue for it. Why, you know, Protoss Mage should stay. We need one OTK deck in the meta, right? Like maybe we need that. And again, I totally understand the merits of both sides. I'm being a middle ground guy, so we're gonna get some dislikes on this video, I guess. Anyways, let me know what you think about all this in the comments down below. We'll try and hook you up with a gameplay video tomorrow, and then we'll take a look at the worst cards, hopefully on the weekend or something like that pretty soon. Anyways, let me know what you think about all this. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.